Today we're going to talk to Tara Zvezda Manicsic. Did I get that right?
Exactly right.
Nice. I've been practicing all morning.
Nice.
All right. We're going to learn how she got started in development, what she's up to today, and what she'll be talking about at the upcoming React Advanced London conference. This video is sponsored by GetNation. Be sure not to miss the React Advanced London Hybrid Conference happening October 22nd and 25th. React Advanced London will be a hybrid in-person and remote conference with over 60 speakers and more than 20,000 developers attending. There will be over 10 free remote and pro hybrid workshops included. You can expect to hear from authors and core teams from these amazing React libraries and projects. Join live chat rooms, after parties, and fun activities. Discover the future of React and connect with other developers from around the world. Get your tickets now using the link in the description to get 20% off. So Tara is an amazing developer, speaker, teacher, and she's not afraid of bad jokes. And that's pretty much all you're going to get out of me, some bad dad jokes. So thank you for joining me again today, Tara. Why don't you give everyone a quick introduction?
Hi, I'm Tara, and I am working at Netlify and the developer experience team. I am mostly focusing on Angular and our product in general right now to basically make it great for developers like myself and probably you, and just working with a really remarkable team on a product that I've loved before I even worked there. So I'm just happy to kind of be out here talking to everybody about not only the code that I write, but how we go about writing it as individuals and as a team now that we're all so spread out.
Yes, exactly. I love Netlify as well. So really quick, just a brief introduction of how did you get started in web development?
Well, we actually had computer classes in second grade. This was back in the early 90s. And so we were, I'm trying to remember, we had basically a little, I think it was, I want to say logo, but it was a turtle that you made move across the screen. But it was funny, it introduced logical thinking, which I think is such a kind of crux in becoming a programmer. So needless to say, there were not many computers after that in school. So I didn't get back into it for quite a while. But I was lucky enough that my mom was an electronics teacher. And so I worked with electronics a lot. And when I started, I was working at an atmospheric research group at Harvard University. And they had an MIT crossover class that was screen-based and physical computing. And I was like, what is this? And it was basically using electronics and Java and the library called Processing that was developed at MIT to work with visualizations using computer language. And from then on, I was so hooked that I just ended up getting a degree and haven't stopped since.
Nice. That's a great background. So I was reading through your bio, and one thing that stood out was bringing Angular into the Jamstack. Can you explain that?
I like to call it Jamgular, but no one else does yet. So,
we'll see if it catches on.
Yeah, I'm hoping. It's been about 2 years running that I've been trying to push this. So, Jamgular. Maybe if I just say it a lot. Jamgular.
Yes.
So, for a long time, the Angular community has wanted a way to make their sites faster and like get good SEO and basically like build it out statically, but able to make it, have dynamic functionality. And that's exactly what the Jamstack does. But the way, things work in communities, Angular is actually kind of the last one on the bandwagon to the Jamstack. And it's funny because Netlify was originally built using Angular. And then switched over to React, and then they brought me on to bring more Angular into, all the different functionalities that Netlify offers. So, like, not only just doing, one of the first steps that you may go into the Jamstack is by putting your application on a content delivery network, or CDN. So like beyond that though, you can use like Netlify functions for doing auth serverlessly and give yourself a bunch of ways to manage different like rollbacks of builds, and just a lot of ways to really manage your project on a remotely and like distributed team, which is really nice. So that's one of the things that I think is the best about the Jamstack architectural approach, is your mindset is like destructuring a lot of things so that when people come onto your team, it's not like, okay, first you have to go set up this instance on Redis, and then actually there are a few other Docker containers. If you can get these things up and running, and then we have a few, there's, your M file should be this for this thing, and there are a few other environment variables. Like, we try to like make it so that you have, your Git versioning and your setup on Git. You have your project up on the cloud somewhere, and you can just get up and running. So that's why I want Angular in the Jamstack stat. Jamgular.
Yes. Yeah. Let's make it a thing. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I love Jamstack, and Angular is just not something that I think most people think of when you say Jamstack. So let's make it a thing. That sounds good.
Totally. We're part of the party too, dagnabbit.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Okay, so let's talk about the conference a little bit. So are you planning on joining the conference in person?
Not in person. I was very tempted. I have my manager, a wonderful human being named Hawks Filsworth, lives in London. And so it would have been really nice, and I have family there. It would have been so nice to go there, but I have 2 kids under 3. And so I did not want to try that baggage claim nightmare this time.
Yes. Yeah. No, I don't blame you. I mean, we're hoping that things get back to normal and this COVID thing goes away as quickly as possible, because, I want to get back to these in-person events as soon as we can. But obviously we need to stay safe until then, for sure. But just so the audience knows that this is a hybrid conference. So you can attend in person at the brewery in London or remotely. And so we know Git Nation puts on some great remote conferences. So either way, you're going to get a great conference. So the title of your talk is Remote Team Collaboration Techniques. So give us like a high-level sneak peek at what we're going to get from this talk.
So one thing that I've been remote even before this ongoing pandemic, and so for many years I've gone through the different hurdles that can happen, not only to code getting stagnant because who's working on what, and then teamwork being more difficult because you're not in person. Like, I started off my first engineering job in person in an office. And, that has its ups and downs as well. Noise canceling headphones are the most clutch thing for these new open office environments. But then when you go remotely, you almost have this opposite effect of you start to feel like you're on an island by yourself. And not only that, but communication can become very strained because you can't, it's hard without open and closing sarcasm tags to let somebody know that, you're joking or you're very serious. Like, this thing really does need done by, 10 p.m. So there are definitely a lot of hurdles that I think, with a ton of people moving into distributed teams very rapidly, has made it not the easiest transition. But I was really lucky to not only be on a team that handled it really well and implemented a lot of things that really saved us both mentally and code base wise, but I've also been a part of a lot of groups discussions about just what works for people and what doesn't. And I think with this talk, we're definitely going to talk about a lot of the ways that we did with, a lot of things that we did with tooling and a lot of things that we did with structuring how we code together. But also just discussing what kept our spirits up, because not only was it hard to be alone, but you were alone. You were alone. Yeah. So, and I think I joked with my team and I'm like, I was waiting through the weekend to have our Monday group meeting. Like, who does that? Who gets excited about meeting with the team on Monday?
We need some interactions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. Yeah, so I've been fully remote for over 10 years, so it's kind of something that I'm used to.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are not used to that. A lot of people, really need that human interaction. And so it's going to be really great to get some great insights from a team that has, some learnings that we can improve, ourselves, our teams as well. Awesome. So I'm really looking forward to that talk. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you want to add that we missed, or anything that you want to shout out? Anything at all?
I guess like one way that has definitely kept our spirits up that I'll talk about in the talk, but you can check out beforehand, is remotelyinteresting.netlify.com. It's our podcast where that was one saving grace for us, where we got to talk about the technology we love. Like, me and my coworker were talking about one of our favorite things about being on a physical team is you would go out to lunch together. And at lunch, because I don't know if I have many non-technical friends, and if I tried to talk about databases at lunch, they would throw the ramen at me. Like, they would be very not happy with me. But it was one of my favorite things about going out for work lunches is you could talk about, like, oh, what's going on with modules right now, and, who's talking about what in these, discussions and these issues on Git, where nobody outside of work probably wants to talk about that with you. We found that with the podcast, we could kind of have these kind of lunch discussions, although we don't eat during the podcast usually, because our editor, Chris Enns, would probably not even just yell at us, but have a field day with the sound and make fun of us relentlessly on Twitter. So that's
just
one
leave
thing
the
to
chomping
check
sounds
out.
in there.
Yes, but I will in the talk also talk about how we kind of found ways and strategies around one of the most team building things, which is food sharing. So there's a little teaser for you. Like, yeah, if you want to remember what it feels like to have lunch with people but not be in the same room, here's how.
Right. There you go. Awesome. Yeah, I've listened to the Remotely Interesting podcast as well, and it's great. So for sure, everyone needs to check that out. And then whether remote or in person, be sure to join us October 22nd and 25th at the React Advanced London Conference.
Yeah.
See you there.
See ya.
Be sure not to miss the React Advanced London Hybrid Conference happening October 22nd and 25th. React Advanced London will be a hybrid in-person and remote conference with over 60 speakers and more than 20,000 developers attending. There will be over 10 free remote and pro hybrid workshops included. You can expect to hear from authors and core teams from these amazing React libraries and projects. Join live chat rooms, after parties, and fun activities. Discover the future of React and connect with other developers from around the world. Get your tickets now using the link in the description to get 20% off.